Hey everyone, this is Andy from Govprep. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to talk about NAICS codes today. So here is a question for everyone. What is a small business? What's the definition of a small business? Well, you might have heard, number of employees, 50 is a popular one, only one office location, maybe it's the annual revenue, maybe it's 150 employees, who knows, right? Maybe a whole bunch of different definitions. Well, there is not a single definition of small business. Having a little fun there with PowerPoint. So there's not a single definition of small business. So whoever tells you that is telling you a story. So when you are looking at doing business in the public sector with the federal government in particular, there are these things called NAICS codes, and that is what defines small business. So the Small Business Administration keeps up to date a list that's called the North American Industry Classification System. And to find this list, you can just go to SBA, do a keyword search for SBA, for Small Business Administration, Small Business Size Standards. So NAICS codes are these. Let's back up a second. So NAICS codes are these, and this is a website I recommend. NAICS codes, NAICS.com. Some regions call it NAICS, 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 NAICS codes. I call it NAICS codes. So you can find these. It's a classification system. It's a 6-digit number that actually there's over 1,300 of them, and they actually define what the different types of businesses are. So you can go to this website, and if you don't know what your NAICS code is, let's say you're doing janitorial services. So you can just type in janitorial or some other keyword into this search bar and look it up. There are other classification systems. SIC code is one of them, but the government primarily uses NAICS codes. So if you are in janitorial services, you would want to pick 561720. So remember that. We're going to come back to this. So 561720, when you actually look for the size standard, remember we're going to type in our keyword search here, SBA Small Business Size Standards. If I'm in janitorial services, remember that code, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to find the latest version of the size standards, and then I'm going to see this list here. So this is the formal, official, end-all be-all size standard list. And you can see each NAICS code is a 6-digit number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that it gets more specific the further to the right you go, if that makes sense. So sector 11 is agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. So you'll notice that all of these NAICS codes in this category start with 11. And then if you scroll down, you can see sector 21, that's mining and gas and oil and quarrying, extraction and whatnot. So all of these NAICS codes start with 21. So I want to find that janitorial services NAICS code that I was looking for before. So that's my 561720. Bingo, janitorial services. Well, now what the heck is the small business definition for that, for my business? How do I know if I'm small or if I'm big? Well, here on the right side, you've got size standards. Some industries are defined by revenue. Some industries are defined by employee size, employee count. So not employee size, employee count. So the revenue one, if your NAICS code has a number here in this column, that means $19.5 million, size standard in millions of dollars. So that means that your company can make up to $19.5 million on a running 5-year average, 19.5 each year. Under that, you're a small business. Over that, you're not a small business. And that's the definition. That's it. There's no, large business or medium business definition as far as the government's concerned. It's just, are you small or are you not small? And if you're in janitorial services and you're under $19.5 million in annual gross revenues, then you're a small business. Let's say you are in one of these other categories and you do research and development in physical engineering and life sciences. Then for NAICS code 541715, then your industry is not defined by revenue. Your industry is defined by employee count. So the number of employees that you have, as long as you have under 1,000 employees, then you are a small business. And it's point in time measurement. So if you are claiming small business status, then at that point in time, you have to have under 1,000 employees. And if you go over 1,000 employees, then you have to self-report that you are not small anymore. So that is how you find out if you are a small business or not. Now, why does that matter? Because if you are looking for work from the federal government, the NAICS codes are how you find the work. Because as we'll talk about in a second, that's how you match your offering and what you bring to the table as a company to what they're looking for, what the contracting officer is searching for in their procurement, in their purchase, in their acquisition. So how do you do that? If you are doing business in the federal government, or you can watch one of the other videos, you have to register with SAM. So sam.gov, sam.gov. That is the profile page. That is your update page. That's where you, as whoever controls that SAM profile for your company, that's where you're going to initially register, what your NAICS codes are. You have to pick a primary, so what's your main line of business. And then if you need to update, add, subtract, adjust, you can do that through that same SAM profile. It takes maybe 15, 30 minutes to update one once you've got a registration in place. So if you need to update, that's not a terribly complicated thing. So somebody needs to be tracking this though, because here's the catch. When contracting officers go to look you up, if you're bidding on work, you'd better darn sure have the NAICS code that you're claiming. If you're saying that you're a janitorial service and you don't have 561720, then the contracting officer is going to say, what the heck is this guy talking about? He doesn't know what he's doing. So if you want to check up another company, do some strategic researching, competitive research, then you can go to beta.sam.gov, and under entity search, you can look up any company and that's registered with the federal government and see what their NAICS codes are. This example here, I just randomly picked a janitorial company and found them through that NAICS code. So Carla's Janitorial and Supply LLC, you scroll down to through your registration, and you can see down here, this is where your NAICS codes are selected or published. So this is not SAM, this is beta.sam. Notice the difference. So sam.gov is where you go to update your profile. Beta.sam is where everybody else goes, and you can go to look at your profile. So I know that this company, they focus on janitorial services. And notice that they don't have only the one NAICS code, they have two NAICS codes. When you start getting more than like 15 or 20 NAICS codes, then you have a shotgun approach. So that doesn't necessarily, you're starting to spread yourself too thin and that's a subjective. Typically, contracting officers like to see the focus, making sure that you are in a line of business or associated lines of business that make sense. So if you're in janitorial services, you probably aren't also in gold mining or shipbuilding. Those are two completely different lines of business. But you might also be in landscaping or painting or something else construction related or cleaning related. So just kind of keep that in mind also when you're selecting your NAICS codes. So here's where the search and the find come into play. It's kind of like matchmaking. because you are publishing your NAICS code and selecting your NAICS codes through SAM, and the contracting officer is finding it through beta.sam. But if you are out there searching for opportunities, let's say you go out and do a keyword search for custodial. Janitorial work, custodial work, kind of in the same line of business. So I'm going to do a quick search. I've done a quick search for custodial. And remember that NAICS code, the 561720. So I did my keyword search for custodial, and I see that this custodial services for Naval Station Norfolk, I scroll down in the opportunity, and I see, oh, bingo, 561720, janitorial services. So that is a good opportunity for me to go after because that's my line of business. However, if I keep looking down, okay, let's look at a couple others. A new opportunity, Randolph Custodial Services, 561720, wonderful. Well, if I keep going down here and I look at this one, okay, there's some other stuff thrown into this one. Shelf stocking, receiving, storage, holding areas, custodial services, but it's a little bit more broad. So what do you think they have it listed under? 561990, other. There's always the magical other. So if you are looking for an opportunity, sometimes you will see it, right? So that first one we looked at, the NAICS code matches, then the contract, you can bid on that one because the contract officer and your SAM profile both match. This other one, same thing, NAICS code matches, but wait a second. This third one, there's not a matching NAICS code on your profile. So whether you're searching for the opportunity or they're trying to find you, this is going to be a problem. So how do you correct that? Well, you want to make sure that, one, you go to your SAM profile and you add that 561990 before you submit your proposal for that effort. Because as soon as you submit that proposal and the contracting officer goes to beta.sam.gov, which they will, and they check your profile to see if that's the line of business you're in, you're not going to get awarded that contract because you're bidding on work that you are saying is not your line of business. The other thing is you want to always make sure that you know what your small business size standard is for all the NAICS codes, because you can qualify as a small business for some NAICS codes while not qualifying for others. So you might be a small business in 561720, but you might not be. Let's check that out. So if I am 561720, that size standard is 19.5 million. But if I'm looking at 561740, that size standard is 6 million. So I can be a small business in the other category for 19.5 million, but on this one for carpet and upholstery cleaning services, that's only $6 million. So if I make $10 million in revenue a year, guess what? You qualify as a small in one category, but not in the other category. So be very, very careful with that. When you go to the opportunities and you start seeing the set-asides, if those opportunities are set aside for small businesses, then you need to make sure that you qualify. Like this right here, total small business set aside. If you don't qualify as a small business in that category, in this one it's $12 million. So you don't qualify as a total small business in that category. You can't bid and represent yourself. You'll get in a lot of trouble. There's fines and imprisonment for that. So don't mess around with that. If you claim to be a small business and you don't qualify under these standards, then you're going to set yourself up for failure. So good luck to you. Be strategic. Understand that it's the contracting officer that makes that selection on how to classify, on what NAICS code to use. You have to make sure that your company is representing itself as those NAICS codes that are kind of around. your target. So if you are janitorial services, that might be the center, the bullseye of your target, that 561720. But then the outer rings of that target, you might need to add, 561740. You might need to add 561990. You might need to add some of those other NAICS codes to make sure that you're capturing all of them that are in your line of business. Good luck to you all, and hope this was helpful.